fee. They call it a wholesale fee. And it's normally 5 or 10 grand, but in this case, I got a home run. It was an $80,000 deal, and I bought this car. And I'm like, oh man, can you do it again? He goes, I already have 2 or 3 deals lined up. Well, I'm gonna make a bunch more money. Now, Jeremy was in the software business. He was like a software programmer. I've had over 80,000 students come through my program. We've done a little over $100 million in sales so far. Like, I'm one of the biggest educators in the world in the real estate investing space. I have birthed, unfortunately or fortunately, hundreds of gurus. Like, some of your favorite people in real estate came through my programs.
Hi, everybody. Jose Luis Morales. Welcome back to another episode of the Morales Group Show. Today, we have a very special guest. His name is Cody Sperber. You may have seen him on your YouTube feed as a sponsored ad or some sort of advertisement. He's done thousands of deals, development, multifamily, flips, wholesale. And today we're just going to be walking through his journey as to how he got started in real estate and then how he scaled multiple companies to over 8 figures. Welcome to the show, Cody. How are you?
I'm glad to be here, man. Thank you for having me on. Excited to have some conversations. Look, real estate's my passion. I love talking about this stuff. Anytime I can impact agents, investors, people in the mortgage space, especially right now with the economy shifting, the market being kind of crazy, like now is the time to have these like really good tactical conversations about what to do and how I got here. And more importantly, what I think is coming and what to do about it to make sure you're still in business a year from now, because I believe with all of me, right now is one of the greatest times to be in real estate. This is the line in the sand moment. Right?
Yeah.
Like this is who wants it?
I agree with you 100.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. Not only that, but I think like obviously you've done thousands of deals, so I think that you can provide great insight as to like what's coming in the real estate market, like how to prepare, what shifts to be making. So for our viewers who don't know who Cody is, which is almost hard to imagine, who is Cody Sperber, and then how did you get involved in this wonderful world of real estate investing?
Yeah, based in Tempe, Arizona. I've done deals all over the country, thousands of deals. I've been in the real estate game for a little over 20 years now. Did 4 years in the Navy. Great experience. For everybody listening that was in the military or served in any capacity, thank you for your service. So I did 4 in the Navy. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Fell into real estate. I wasn't a kid thinking, oh, I'm going to go off and get real estate rich. To me, that was an impossible dream. Like, we didn't have money growing up. My grandparents lived in one room. I slept on the couch. My parents had the other room. We had a carport and one car we shared for the whole family. Like, I didn't know. I was a kid. I didn't know we didn't have money, and I never was without. Like, my parents always figured out a way to make me feel like we were okay, even if we weren't. And so I didn't really have successful people around me, rich people around me, nobody in real estate. And so the only guy in town, I used to walk to school. Remember back in the day when kids actually walked to school?
Oh yeah.
I used to walk to school, and it was no joke, about 2.5, 3 miles away. And my dad would always give me $1, and I would stop at the Jack in the Box and get something off the dollar menu. And that was my, I either did it on the way to school and used it for breakfast, or on the way home and I bought a milkshake or something like that. But there was a building, and it had a guy's name on it, and it said Polak Investment Group. And I saw this every single day, and I always thought to myself, what do I got to do to get my name on a building? How cool would that be to have a name on a building? And one day I stopped in there and I asked the secretary, what do you guys do here? Oh, Michael Polak owns strip centers, owns commercial real estate. We're real estate investors. And I thought, okay, well, can I talk to Michael? And she laughed, said, no, you're a little kid. Like, Michael doesn't meet with anybody. He's very busy. So I left and just went off about my life and thought, oh, someday that's what, maybe if I got rich, I could buy real estate like Michael and have my name on a building. Fast forward, I'm in the Navy. My dad bought me Rich Dad, Poor Dad as a book. It just came out. This is like 1998. And my dad got me the book, and that was the first time I had ever heard of assets and liabilities, and like it kind of blew my mind. And most people read that book that are listening to this podcast know what an impact that makes on people. And it's probably single-handedly responsible for more people getting into real estate than any other book out there. And I flashed back to seeing Michael's name on the building, and I thought, oh, wow, this is there's like little pivotal seeds being planted in my mind. But how many times do we hear about something that can be the path, but we do nothing with that information?
Mm-hmm.
And that was me. I got out of the Navy and I still had no connection to real estate other than the book was rad and that building experience. And then one day, my buddy, while I was going to college, invited me to go to lunch. His name was Jeremy. And he pulls up in a brand new Mercedes. And I said, dude, how'd you get the car? And he goes, I flipped a house and made 80 G's. Now, I partied with Jeremy. Like, we were degenerates. Like, he didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. How did you get 80 G's? And he said, well, give me your napkin. And he literally penciled out wholesaling on a napkin. Well, you find a motivated seller, and then you, at the same time, you go out and network, and you find like landlords and rehabbers that are looking for deals, and you play matchmaker, and when you find a good deal, you serve it up to them on a silver platter, and you get paid like a finder's fee. They call it a wholesale fee. And it's normally $5 or $10 grand, but in this case, I got a home run. It was an $80,000 deal, and I bought this car. And I'm like, oh man, can you do it again? He goes, I already have 2 or 3 deals lined up. Like I'm gonna make a bunch more money. Now, Jeremy was in the software business. He was like a software programmer. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Yeah. Like, I took the napkin home with me. I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, people can't do real estate with no money. You have to have a real estate license. Like, you got to be a licensed real estate agent. Like, what is this crap? Like, this is a scam. And all of those thoughts were swirling around in my head. You got to go back 20 years. Now, you got guys like me that I've been in education since 2009. I've had over 80,000 students come through my program. We've done a little over $100 million in sales so far. Like, I'm one of the biggest educators in the world in the real estate investing space. I have birthed, unfortunately or fortunately, hundreds of gurus. Like, some of your favorite people in real estate came through my programs. But back then, we didn't have anything. No YouTube, no Facebook, no social, no online training, nothing. And so I'm staring at this napkin and I'm getting pissed because why didn't anybody tell me about this? If this is real, why don't they teach this in school? Like, we memorize the fucking periodic table, but nobody teaches you any fundamentals on financial literacy and that you can make money in real estate, one of the most proven wealth building vehicles. And I knew nothing about it. Never once had the conversation, but I'm flashing back to Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm like, maybe this is what I should do. And so I started flying all over the country, going to seminars, buying books and tapes, paying for boot camps on a credit card that I had no ability to pay for any of this. I am literally living on credit, flying all over, so desperate to learn because I wanted to figure out how to get rich in real estate. And I just turned on. And not everybody gets into real estate because they're into real estate. I happen to be one of those weird people that fell in love with real estate. I love the architecture. I love the people. I love the challenge. I love the chess match. I love the psychology. I just fell in love. And so for me, when I mentor people now, and like, let's say I meet somebody who doesn't have any motivation at all. They're just like, oh, I just want to do real estate to get rich because my real passion is this thing over here. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But nobody ever had to drag me up a fucking mountain. Like, nobody had to like motivate me. Like, I don't get what the fuck motivation is for people. Like, you see the path, you know this is the thing that's going to work, but you don't do anything with that information, and you just point at everybody else. Oh, I'm not where I want to be because of this and that, and you become a victim and a blamer, and it's like, fuck that. I was so headstrong. I was willing to spend money I didn't have. I was willing to fly over the country. I looked like I was 15 years old. I was scared to death. I was way out of my element, but I was like adamant that this was going to happen. And I want everybody listening to picture this. How many times do we have an expectation in our head? Oh, I'm going to go, like in my mind, I thought within 90 days, I'm doing my first deal as a wholesaler. No money down real estate. Well, what happens when 90 days goes by and you don't have a deal? And then 6 months goes by and you don't have a deal. And now everybody that was kind of like listening to you talk a big game is now talking shit behind your back. And they're making fun of you. And you're getting word that, you're being made fun of. And you're scared to even say anything anymore because you're not getting any traction. You're not feeling any progress. And that little voice in your head is getting louder. Like, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you look too young. Maybe they're right. You need to have money to do real estate. At the 9th month, my parents sat me down and said, Cody, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. Stay focused on college. Real estate's for rich people. Knock it off. Like, we're not going to support you. We're not going to get behind this. Like, this is crazy at this point. And that voice got so loud in my head that I didn't even have confidence in myself by the 9th month. And I had a deal, and I was going to only make a few $1,000s. I like finagled my way into this little deal, and I put a bunch of people together, all on faith and hope that we would do this deal. And a real estate agent at the last minute got involved and ended up cutting me out of the deal. And the deal fell apart. And that was the day I quit real estate for the first time. And it's a funny thing when you quit on your dreams. I was so mad at myself. I was so disgusted with everybody. I threw the biggest pity party. And I went and got a job as a bookkeeper. And it was rough. That 4 or 5 months, khaki pants, polo shirt, bookkeeping. I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to fucking kill. I was so mad at myself for quitting, but I had to pay these credit card bills.
How old were you?
The only guy that was hiring happened to be a dude who needed a bookkeeper, and I saw his little ad at the ASU bulletin board while I was going to class one day, and I called him up, and he goes, "Do you know how to do books?" And I lied and said, "Yeah, I know how to do books." I didn't know how to do books. I just needed a job so badly. And next thing you know, I'm a bookkeeper. 34 grand a year. Miserable. I made it 4 months as a bookkeeper before a good friend of mine said, "Hey, dude, you want to go to this real estate seminar? It's in San Francisco." And I said, No. I've already done that, dude. I've spent 30 grand on a credit card. I don't have any more money. I'm a bookkeeper, dude. Like, I've given up on real estate. And he kept at it and kept at it and kept at it for about 3 weeks. He kept just hounding me about this stupid event. And he goes, "Dude, it's different than anything you've ever seen. I promise, this isn't like everything else." And I went to this event reluctantly. And I walked in, and it was put on by a guy named Jack Miller. He's an old timer. He's now since passed away. And it was, you ever walk into a room and your arm hair stands up? Yeah. You get this feeling on the back of your neck like, this is different. I just knew that I was meant to be there at that moment. And I was looking around, there's about 400 people in the room. And some of the people I bought courses from, spent thousands of dollars with, were in the audience taking notes, learning from Jack. And Jack was up at the podium telling war stories about doing creative real estate deals and how he gets sellers to finance his deals and takes over mortgages and creates notes and, does everything inside his self-directed Roth in a tax-free environment. And I was blown away. I couldn't believe that this even existed, because up until then, I just went to like these pitch fests where they just sold you shit and left you hanging. And it was like drinking from a fire hose, but not with Jack. With Jack and them, it felt like community. And at lunch, during one of the breaks, I met my first mentor. His name was Lyle Wall, and I convinced him to mentor me. And within 2 months of leaving that event, doing the one thing that I didn't do for the first 9 months, all the way up until the point I quit, hard-headed, I could figure this out on my own. I could read a recipe. I bought the books. I'll just follow what's in the books. No courses are step-by-step. No course, because real estate's dynamic. There's people's personalities involved. There's different scenarios. Like I've done thousands of deals. I've never done the same deal twice. Mm-mm. And so it's you can't follow page 1, page 2, page 3 in perfect order. You got to learn how to be nimble and jump around a little bit. The greatest skill you can ever learn as an entrepreneur is pattern recognition. So while there's similarities, there's patterns. But it's dynamic. You got to learn the patterns to be able to recognize them. That's the highest paid skill in the world. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, but really in real estate. But when you're new, you don't have the ability to recognize patterns yet. And so I was still building that scaffolding. So what did I need? What was the one thing that was missing? It was me locking arms with somebody who had been there and done that it wasn't trying to sell me a fucking book or a course or take me on some stupid bus tour. It was, hey, dude, let me hug you. Let me love on you. Let me show you things you can't learn in books. Let me take you out to interview or to appointments, and let me show you how to close deals. Let me show you how to fill out the paperwork. Let me show you how to think creatively. And for months, me and Lyle just sat there nerding out on his little whiteboard, like him showing me creative finance and sub-2 transactions and wraparound mortgages and contract for deeds. And he encouraged me to go get my real estate license. And like all the things that I wasn't doing properly, he was in my corner to help me. And within 2 months, I did my first big deal. I made $40,000. It was like Roger Bannister running the 4-minute mile. It was like my whole world shifted. I went from like, could this really happen to me, to like knowing, like I knew with every cell in my body that this was my path. If I could do it once, I could do it thousands more times, and that it was a done deal. I could see the future. It was so fucking clear to me at that moment, because I went from like hope to knowing. And I want to encourage everybody listening that there is truth in that 3 feet from gold story. Mm-hmm. It's easy to stop. I could have stayed a bookkeeper, more month at the end of the money, always wanting to know, could I, would I, or what would it have been possible? And I would have lived my life full of regret. But because good people surrounded me and encouraged me, like my friend Zach, who begged me to go to this stupid event, and Lyle, who agreed to take me on in him becoming my first mentor. And I've had dozens of mentors since then in all areas of business. And I really realized the value of paying for speed and paying to be in the right rooms. I could have been like jaded from spending that first 30 grand. But instead, I realized those were all building blocks. Like there was always lessons and blessings in all of those moments, all of those failures leading up to that. Even that real estate agent that cut me out of a deal. Like, if I could hug that man, I'd be like, dude, you have no idea what a great lesson you taught me about being tough in this business. Like, in my mind back then, everybody was kumbaya and collaborative, and their word was they were going to do what they say. And then you realize, nah, man, this is fucking business. This is real estate. There's big money, big egos, fast moving. People aren't going to like always do the right thing. And there's a lot of sharks in this business. On the other end of that, I've prided myself for the last 20 years in being that guy that sets the standard, that does what he says he's going to do off a fucking handshake. Like, I play the long game. I don't burn bridges. I don't cut people out of deals. I pay a lot of money to have great people surrounding me, whether that's mentorships or consultants or even my real estate agents that I work with. People love working with me because I pay fucking great. Like, I look at a real estate agent like my heart surgeon. Like, why am I going to go negotiate a discount with my heart surgeon? Like, I'm having a heart attack. I'm in the ambulance on the way to the fucking hospital. And I'm like, do you think I could get a discount? It's like, real estate agents are on the front lines all day, every day. You should be treating them great. If you're an investor, first off, investors suck. Most investors suck. When they work with real estate agents, they're like, they got their hand out. They're like, will you bring me deals? Will you comp properties for me? Will you do a bunch of work and not get paid a commission? It's like you're not speaking the language to agents. Agents are commission minded. They want to know, this is what I do for a living all day, every day. I'm on the front lines. Am I going to get paid if I get in this relationship? And so I always understood agents because Lyle forced me to go get my license. And I went through that process, and I'm not an agent right now, but my business partner is. We own a development company. I have 2 partners. One is my general contractor. That has been, both of them have been my best friends for the last 18 years. And one of them went off and became a general contractor. The other one went off to become a real estate agent. And I was able to step back and not let my license go and just be Cody Sperber, the clever investor and the educator. And I build the brands and I bring in money and I kind of puppeteer all the pieces. But they're on the front lines now doing the day-to-day. We have a wholesaling operation that does about 10 deals a month right now. We were doing a lot more, but since last June, when the market kind of pulled back, we've, been hit pretty hard. We're probably doing about $150,000 a month in wholesale fees. I got 23 houses going up right now, all new builds. Work with luxury real estate agents all over Scottsdale and Arizona and Phoenix, Arizona, and Arcadia and the Biltmore area. If you've ever been to town, these are like the hottest areas around. So we build houses, really beautiful houses. My company's called Green Elephant Development. Own about 600, 700 apartment doors. I'm in the process of buying a 432 unit apartment building right now. I'm raising capital for that, which is a whole next level ball game. You know, like the evolution is like you start off, like for me, I started off wholesaling, and that's no money down real estate. And then I was kind of being a real estate agent, but I was never a good agent. I was actually a pretty shitty agent because I never liked putting people in my cars and driving them around and open houses and all that shit. I didn't want to do listings. And so I had my license to own real estate. I wanted to be a real estate expert. I never wanted to be an agent. I think agents should always strive to becoming an expert, right? Because when you're an expert, you can do all kinds of deals. Because if you just show up and say, hey, I can list your house, like you're going to get told no all the fucking time. But if you show up and say, I can make you a cash offer, I can list your house, we can do a creative terms deal, and I can pay you more than what you're asking for. You know, I can partner with you and we can renovate the property and sell it at a profit and split the profits. There's so many ways to make money, and you just got to be a better problem solver and have the answers that your seller's looking for. But if you just show up and you only have one skill, you're fucked in this economy. And so then you start wholesaling and you get good at that, and then you're like, I should keep some of these and renovate them. So now I'm in the construction game, and I did 1,000 different rehab projects. And then I'm like, why am I selling these? I'm in the worst tax bracket on planet Earth. Every year I was making $1 million, then $2 million, then $3 million. I was like, every year I was increasing how much I was personally making. And every year my taxes went through the roof. And I was paying, sometimes $1 million a year in taxes. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy. And so the only way to offset your taxes is to own the assets, depreciate the assets, and not any assets. Like at the first, I was just buying single family. The real game is commercial and multifamily, because that's where the big tax benefits are. I bought the building I'm sitting in right now. I paid $4.3 million for it last year, put another $400,000 or $500,000 into it. It's 18,000 square feet. I occupy about 6,000 square feet of it for my different companies, and the rest I rented out to different tenants. I also built out an event center. We cost-segged the building, accelerated the depreciation. I wiped off $1.8 million in taxes last year from one purchase. I put $1 million down on this building, and I have a $1.8 million tax benefit. So it's like that one move, I could have given that $1 million to the government, or I could have just bought my building. I still own the $1 million. It's just trapped in this building, and not pay taxes. So I started wholesaling. Then I started being rehabbing. Then I was like, well, could I spec build? Can I keep some of this? Can I own some of it? And I started in single family, then got into some small multifamily, and then I got into big multifamily and commercial, and everything started to change in my life. Like now I look around and I'm like, I got operators in 7 different companies. I was able to take my real estate profits and spin it out into supplement companies and masterminds and education, data, software. I'm nerding out on artificial intelligence right now for real estate investors. I have a brand new software that we just released 2 months ago. People are freaking going crazy over it. It's AIrealestatesystem.com. And that software, we went out 2 years ago. I started working on this. I saw AI very early on. And 2 years ago, we were like, could we use artificial intelligence like hedge funds do to get to the best deals first? How are they outperforming everybody? Well, they have geniuses working on data, and they're able to see, based on billions of data points, who is going to sell at a discount in the near future. And so I wanted to see if we could replicate that. So we went out and we spent a fortune analyzing every property record in the United States. And there are databases out there full of data, like weird data, like whether or not your mother-in-law lives with you, where you travel to, what loyalty point programs are you subscribed to, where do you shop, what websites do you visit, how often are you on social media? Like, you think that there's not data on you? There is billions of data points on you. And you can buy this data and you can feed it into an algorithm, and you can allow this machine learning to process all this data and create probability and propensity models. Now, I'm getting nerdy on you guys right now, but I want you to understand, like, this is how I think, because I want to win on all levels, all ways. And so I'm like, fuck doing things the old school way. I want the new school. What's the new school way? Like, when the market pulls back and the economy is rough and our politicians are all idiots and everything's totally out of control, how do I control my little economy? How do I get so dialed in and play real offense while the rest of the world is playing defense? Like, I want to play so much offense that it's pissing people off. They're like, how is Sperber doing it? And so we built this algorithm, and we had to create probability and propensity models around every homeowner in the United States. And we scored them with 3 scores: a wholesale score, a retail score, and a rental score. So as an agent, if I wanted to know which homeowners in my local area are probably going to list and sell their house within the next 90 days, I would sort by retail scores. Because that means out of the 136 billion data points, the algorithm is saying these particular people probably will sell full retail and list their house within the next 90 days. So it's just a competitive advantage to, like, where do I market? Do I market to everybody, or do I just market to this bucket of 150 people? Mm-hmm. And we did that with wholesale scores. Who's going to be likely to sell at a discount within the next 190 days or within the next 90 days? And who's going to be likely to
came up? What were some of the things that came up for the wholesale one? Like, meaning, like, I know that you said that some of them were this rewards card or listen to this type of music or whatever it was. Do you recall any of the data points that were specific for wholesaling?
It's 136 billion data points. I'm just giving you a couple examples of things that the algorithm is taking in. And when we don't know, because it's not, this stuff is so advanced and way above my pay grade and understanding. I just understand the fundamental concept of this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create a software with psychic capabilities.
Yeah.
I just want to know who do I focus on that has the highest probability of doing what I want them to do in the next 90 days. And when we first launched it, it gave us a 3 times lift on our marketing results. So that was okay, but that was 2 years ago. Every time as new data is being fed in and wins were happening, mm-hmm. What happens is the algorithm gets smarter and smarter and smarter. It's kind of like ChatGPT. If you know how to use ChatGPT, you can go in there and give it a prompt, right? Like, tell me the top 10 tips for real estate investors in 2023. And it's going to spit out top 10 tips. Mm-hmm. But then you can give it another prompt and you can dial it in and you can say, well, now give me new tips with this input, like these data points. And we can input data and it'll actually refine the result. And you could do that over and over and over until it gets really smart. It's never your first result that is the actual thing. A lot of times you have to coach it to get to where you want it to go. Now that algorithm gives me a 16.3 times lift on my marketing. So I'm just smoking my competition right now. We're buying a lot of luxury real estate and multifamily real estate, and we're getting even the 10 wholesale deals I'm doing right now. They're all coming from AI. So, eventually you get all the way up to the point in your evolution where now you're using these competitive tools. You're playing the game at a very high level. I built a really big team below me. I'm not on the front lines anymore. I'm not banging phones and hustling sellers and trying to drum up deals. And, I've elevated. And eventually you get to a point where you realize the whole game is really raising capital. When you really become the top of the top, it's raising money. And in order to do that, along that journey, you got to build a personal brand. This is why it always trips me out when agents and investors, and I meet them and I'm like, let me look you up. And it's the worst representation online. And you're like, dude, really? You're Instagram is sexy investor 69. Like, what the fuck?
Who are you
What are
marketing
you,
to?
what are you doing, dude? Like, come on, man, build a personal brand. Your reputation should precede you on all levels. That means creating massive amounts of content, like what you're doing right here. I'm so proud of you, dude. You look sharp. You're bringing on high level guests. You took time to like make the video look good behind you. You're probably going to put this into 50 clips and put it all over every social platform. And I tell people all the time that get nervous, like, oh, what if nobody likes my video? So fucking what? Stop being so selfish. This isn't about you. This is about other people. You have no idea if you get 10 views, those 10 people you might impact in a major way. You have no clue. So why are you being so selfish and worrying about what you look like or what you sound like? Dude, everybody's got one of these. You have a cell phone in your hand. Like, you have the equipment necessary to create content and make an impact. And I just made a decision early on when social first launched. I saw the power of building a brand, and I said, you know what? Regardless of how embarrassed I am and the fact that I have a crooked smile or I'm going bald or I got a fucking bunion, like, none of that matters. Like, you know what matters? Is that I share my passion for what I do with the world. Because you are an expert at something. I am an expert at real estate. Mm-hmm. And I put it out there, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the downs, and that authenticity, that intention over time stacks upon itself. And next thing you know, you have a little brand. And every time I got on video, I said the same thing. Hey, what's up, guys? Cody Sperber, Clever Investor here. Today, I want to walk through a property that I'm thinking about buying and just kind of talk about it and break it down. Hey, Cody Sperber, the Clever Investor here. My kid just pissed me off and, we're fighting but I got this is happening in my life. I was just so authentic, but I repeated Cody Sperber, the Clever Investor 10 million times. And it built a brand. And now when I go to raise money, like, I have to raise $67 million to buy over $130 million asset. And I have until July 7th to do it. And I have partners, and they're raising a lot of capital, and I'm just a small part of that whole raise, but I couldn't do it without a brand. And I share that with you guys because that's the end goal. The end goal is to wake up one day being able to raise capital like a boss, buy assets that produce cash flow and tax benefits, and get to a point where you have real freedom. Like, let me ask you something. What's the difference between being rich and being wealthy from your point of view?
Rich and wealthy. I'm actually not sure, to be quite honest. I'd probably say that wealthy, you have just more leverage. I'd probably say leverage.
You do have more leverage for sure. That is
in all aspects of life. I'd probably say more leverage with time, more leverage with money, more leverage with people, more leverage with just a bunch of different things.
I mean, you're not wrong. Dude, you got to master the art of leverage. That's what real estate's all about. For me, being rich it's an income goal, right? Like, I want to make 100 grand a year. Then you're going to move the goalpost. I want to make 250 grand a year. I want to make 500. I've been at a lot of levels of success, all the way up to the point where I made $8 million in 2 days, like $25 million a year. And it's like, the goalpost always moved. Rich is a financial thing. How much money do I get for my time? Mm-hmm. Being wealthy is how long can you go living the lifestyle of your comfort level or dreams without working at all? Like, what is your runway? Wealthy is time. Rich is money. And I know a lot of people that only make a few $1 million. It's not about making insane amounts of money. It's about, when is that moment in your life? For this lady named Cheryl, she wanted $3 million. And the second she hit $3 million, she checked out, moved to a beach in Belize, a little resort town, and lived the rest of her life happy as can be off of $3 million. Some people, it might be, man, if I just had 150 grand a month or 100 grand a month or 75 grand a month coming in, I'd live the rest of my life and I'd never, ever stress again. How long could you go right now if you stopped working? Most people don't even have 1 month in them. I can go forever and not even ever work again and maintain the same lifestyle I have right now. That's because I own assets. Those assets spit off cash flow. My businesses spit off cash flow. My businesses have operators in them. I am not the linchpin of whether the business works or not. I have systematized, automated, delegated, scaled, and gotten out of the fucking way. And I've done that with my companies, and I've done that with my investments. And it took me forever. I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this like that's the goal. Like I fucked everything up along the journey, thinking that I was special or I needed to be involved and I needed to be the person that's in all the meetings and this is where we're going and this is how we're going to get there. And that's not the truth. The truth is your job as an entrepreneur is to do exactly what you said. Master the power and art of leverage. Because when you can leverage other people's time, money, skills, resources, connections, all that stuff, you can put way better people, way more qualified, way smarter, with better answers than you in the right seat of the bus. And then just point the bus. Like, dude, this is the direction we're going, guys. Like, and then your job is recruitment and culture. Right? Like, if you ask me, like, what my job is, like, dude, it's enrolling. Every single day, I enroll people into my world. It's art of persuasion and influence. Do you go by Jose or Luis?
Either one. Jose. Usually it's Jose, and some people call me Jose Luis. So
okay, Jose. Let's say we were broing out, and I was like, man, Jose's got skills, man. He's got capabilities. He's got the it factor. Like, I gotta get Jose on my team. You're already a badass. You already have a vision. You may want to get in alignment with me and collaborate with me. You may not, right? But when somebody with a massive vision that already has a brand, that's already gunning, that's already doing 8 figures, you might see value in getting on board as an intrapreneur into my world, right? Because you can go further faster with my resources. You're going to leverage me and my team and my resources to get more of what you want. But we're going to do this mission over here. So you're going to leave your mission and you're going to come over to my mission and we're going to create alignment. And if we get in alignment, that's when velocity happens. That's when we both win. But if I don't know you, your hopes, your fears, your pain, what's going on in your family life, if I don't go deep into your soul and like really put you in the right seat of the bus and show you what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and what's in it for you when we do it together, it won't be very long at all before we're out of alignment and we're failing as a partnership or as you're being a team member of the Cody Sperber world. And that's because I didn't understand you. I just tried to incentivize you with some money, right? Come on over here, I'll pay you $300,000 a year. And you're like, well, I'm making $250 right now, so that's better than what I'm making. Okay. Well, money only lasts so long. $300,000, you'll normalize at that before you know it. And then you'll be watching me making millions of dollars a month. And you'll be like, I want some of that. I'm responsible for some of that. I want that. And now we're back out of alignment. Rapport's breaking and we're done. And this is how I fucked everything up in the beginning because I didn't understand. I used to build this wall between me and I used to call them employees, right? At my height, at Just Clever Investor, I had about 100 employees. Nobody wants to be called an employee. Even employees that are employee-minded, that are, don't have any ambition whatsoever to be an entrepreneur. They don't want to be treated like an employee. They wanted to be respected, and So after I failed, it's called regrettable turnover. I lost good people, and I fucking ruined meetings, and I stressed everybody out, and I was just too much. I realized a couple things. Like, as a leader, I got to work on my leadership skills. I got to go deeper with my people. I got to change my language, right? You'll never hear me use the word employee. You are a team member, you're valued, and everybody that works with me, I know everything about them. I know their family, I know what they're going through, I know their biggest things that excite them, the biggest things that scare the shit out of them. I spend quality time with them. We go to the gym together, we eat together. And I just built a better meeting cadence and culture. I got out of the way. I hired better quality people. I pay them more than I should. Every time I hire somebody, I'm scared to death because I can't afford it. But my whole vision is like, no, I want to make $100 million this year. How am I going to do it? Well, I've never made $100 million in 1 year. So I need to hire people that have been there, done that, which means I got to pay for the best of the best and let them do their thing. And when you hire slow and fire fast and you put them in the right seat and you empower them with the right resources and get the fuck out of the way, that's when the whole thing elevates and you realize, oh, I was holding the company back because of my limitations. And now my job is just enrolling. I have to just go out there into the world, continue building my brand and enrolling people in, putting them in the right seat, getting that alignment, making sure that the vision is clear, constantly culture building so you don't fuck your culture up, and raising capital, right? And that's what I do all day long is just, you don't have...
So what is your vision?
Impact. You get to a point, for me, it's all about impact now. It's serving others. How do I go deeper? How do I make more impact? This world is so fucked right now and so chaotic. You got all these entitled little kids growing up in an environment where mommy and daddy are scared to like yell at them and scared to push them. And it's, you're hearing this propagandic messaging going on over and over and over about how bad the world is and the economy is. And you got politicians that are all idiots leading this country into a bad place. We're printing money like nobody's business. We're now, I think I just saw it. I forget how many trillions. Do you remember? It was like, hold on, I'm just going to ask. Current national debt. Come on. It just hit like $31 trillion.
Yeah.
Like, what the frick? Like, they're printing so much money and handing it out to people and incentivizing people not to work. And it's just like, okay, what can I do when all of this stuff's going on? Well, I can raise my intention and enthusiasm. I can get loud about my messaging. I can point all my resources into like, okay, how do I get as many people to be financially literate as possible? Which is why I run the Clever Investor Show podcast, is why I put out an insane amount of content every single day, is constantly just yelling at people saying, get your shit together, stop what you're doing and take the time to pay attention. Hedge funds were on track to buy 1/3 of all residential real estate. Right now, they bought about 1/5 of it. Why are they buying so much residential real estate?
Why are
you even know? Because they know how inflation works. They know how money works. They're paying attention to what the government is doing and all the direction that our politics are going. They understand that as a corporation, if you play the money game the right way, you could get insanely wealthy, live tax-free, and have lots of power. And so if inflation is at 8%, okay, but you're able to get a mortgage at 2 or 3%, over a long period of time, that 2 or 3% mortgage erodes because inflation erodes good, cheap debt. And what I mean by that is, let's say I buy a house today for $100,000 and I borrow money at 2 or 3% because I'm a hedge fund. I get the best borrowing terms, right? Like poor people get the worst borrowing terms. Hedge funds and people on Wall Street and politicians get the best borrowing terms. That's the wealth gap. And so the closer you are to the source and creation of money, the better your borrowing terms are. And that's why they get wealthy and stay wealthy. So if I'm a hedge fund and I go raise $1 billion and I hand it to JP Morgan, and JP Morgan then invested into a bunch of stocks, and then they give me a line of credit against my portfolio at 75 or 80 cents on the dollar at a 2% rate, right? So now I'm able to borrow money at 2% against my own portfolio. Then I go buy a piece of real estate for $100,000 in cash, and now I have a 2% mortgage on it. But inflation's at 8%. As I'm paying back the money over a long period of time, the dollars that I borrowed are worth more than the dollars I pay back with, because inflation is making my dollar worth less. So over 10 or 15 years, if I'm holding billions and billions of dollars worth of cheap cash flowing real estate that have good, cheap debt on it, that interest rate goes from 2 to 1 to 0 to -1 to -2. All of a sudden, I'm being paid to own real estate. People might not understand what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is they have arbitraged money and gamified the system because they understand, and they have financial literacy. They understand that if I buy up all this real estate's future-proof. AI cannot fuck up real estate. It can fuck up agents. It can fuck up title companies and insurance companies, but real estate itself is future-proof. People will always need a place to live. Like there could be flying cars and they will park themselves in a garage. And so if companies own all the real estate and they have good, cheap debt on it that is being eroded by inflation, they're being paid to own the real estate. They're mathematically in a better position 15 years from now than everybody else that sold their real estate and became a renter. You see, renters right now, they're killing the middle class on purpose because 10, 15 years from now that they've conditioned us all to be little beta bitch boys and not have any balls and not go out there and actually like work for a living, and they own all our real estate, what do? We just walk around with all our kids are going to walk around entitled with their hand out saying, government, please take care of me. And with digital currency and the ability to track you on social, like they can literally just turn your whole life off. This is happening. 20 years from now, there will be social credit scores. There will be a digital currency because they're imploding the money supply. There will be a real estate crash. There will be a stock market crash. There will be a currency crash. Like all these things are going to happen. It's just when. And so for me, it's like my mission is very clear. Get people into the right money-making vehicle. Teach them why this is the right money-making vehicle. You can make a lot of money with very little resources. There's lots of creative ways to do real estate. You can become a real estate expert. Doesn't matter your skin color, your gender, what country you originally came from, whether you speak good English or not, it does not matter. With real estate, it's an equal playing field. And so understand how the mechanics of how it works. Get the tax benefits, the cash flow. Stop doing just transactional real estate. Use that to make a living, but live below your means and get all your money into owning real estate as fast as possible. Because 20 years from now, it's going to get really fucking hard to own real estate. And it's going to continually get harder and harder and harder because they want it to be hard. They don't want you to have power. They don't want you to own assets. They want you to be dependent on them. And so the inventory's gone. Like, what's propping us up right now? Yeah, it's like nothing makes sense if you have to hire pros. And if you do hire somebody, it's who you can afford. So you get these whack, lame property managers that talk a big game and just piss you off all the time. Well, how do you want to do it? I want to put no money down. I want to just step in. I'll make some repairs on the property. I'll do what I need to do, and I'll send you a check every single month, and you don't have to deal with tenants and toilets. Well, you got to have some skin in the game. And you can't put your finger on like why. Why are things out of control? Why are things so bad in my life? Why can't I get to the next level? Why am I struggling? Well, that's because I put all my effort into one pillar.